In this clip, we're going to show you how to save a lot of money when you're buying a diesel pickup. You don't want to miss it, so stay tuned. All right, so the first thing that I'm looking at when I start looking at a diesel pickup for somebody, and we get all the time we get people that are asking us about what to look for, and everybody knows that a diesel pickup can be really expensive. So if you're doing a kind of a pre-exam on a vehicle, there's a few things we put together for you that you're going to want to pay attention to, and kind of a checklist. So we're going to walk this through. This is our old shop truck. It's really a great old 12 valves, low mileage. It's not the best vehicle really to pick because I really wish that we had something that was a little bit more problematic. But at any rate, let's look at this thing and see. First off, when I'm walking up to the vehicle, I'm wanting to look and see for any body. This is something that's not engine related, but something that might be of interest to anybody that's ever buying a vehicle. You're always looking for different mismatched color paint. Obviously this is a two-tone pickup truck and this is matching, but a lot of times when a vehicle's been in a wreck, depending on how it's fixed, we can look and see in behind to see if there's actually the part of this body had been damaged, replaced, and hadn't been paint matched before because they didn't paint the back side of it. So that's always something of interest that you're going to want to pay attention to. As far as the mechanical workings of everything, we're going to walk you through what that looks like. Engine blow-by is probably the number one thing that people are going to mention. So real quick, we're going to talk about what engine blow-by is and how that you can determine whether or not the vehicle has or the engine has any damage. Basically, what blow-by is the piston's coming up, it's compressing oxygen in the cylinder. Any gases that get by the rings or the cylinder wall are going to develop in blow-by. And that's going to cause that oxygen to get compressed back into the crankcase. When we have that happen, that means that there's internal wear in the engine, and that's very costly, very expensive, and something that you're really not going to want to buy into unless you get the vehicle at a good deal. And if that's the case, well then I'll go ahead for it, and just know that you're going to be buying an engine sooner than rather than later. So, but we're going to show you how to check that. So if the gases are being pushed down into the crankcase, then they're going to go somewhere. And a lot of times, more times than not, if a vehicle has a lot of crankcase pressure, it's going to blow out seals and develop oil leaks in areas that you're never going to be able to stop. You can put new seals in, but this pressure in this crankcase is going to result in oil leaking. So a lot of times you're going to see front main seals, rear main seals leaking, valve cover seals leaking, front timing gear housing leaking, just everywhere. And it's just a mess that won't ever stop until you fix and get the crankcase pressure under control. We can see this though if we come in and we can look at the oil fill cap. Now on this old 12 valve, it's pretty easy to see, but it's pretty easy to get to. When you take the cap off, look at the cap. If there's a lot of crud, that's contamination that's deposited on the cap, that's a good sign that those vapors are carrying with it contamination and trash, and the person probably didn't do a very good job of maintaining their oil intervals. But as you can tell on this engine, it's really, really clean. It's really clear. So engines, we don't expect to find anything here. We're going to go ahead and start it up. And if it's puffing like a train, then you obviously know it's got blow-by, the engine's hurt, and that's one you're going to want to steer clear of. You're going to want to make sure that the engine's at operating temperature. And the reason why is because that gives an opportunity for all the internal engine components to expand. And so if the cylinder wall, if it's cold, you're probably not going to see as much blow-by. In bad cases, you'll see it instantly on startup. But it's best to have it at a operating temperature before we do these things. So we're going to go ahead and fire it up now and check it. This truck's already at 190 degrees operating temperature. Okay, so we just started up and we showed you that this thing really has no blow-by to speak of. When you start seeing pressurization against the cap, then you know that you've got an excessive amount, even before that. But you'll see a vapor that's coming out that's pretty extensive. If it's blowing the cap off in your hand, when you go to screw it and you unscrew it, and you've got to make sure that the cap doesn't actually blow off your hand, that's way too much. Okay, that's something that you need to be concerned about. What you basically saw in the video is perfect. Use that as a gauge, maybe that'll help. Moving on, we're going to go to the turbo. We're going to pull the boot or the intake pipe coming to the turbo. We're going to take that loose and we're going to look at some of the things there. All right, so what we've done is we've removed the gearbox. and the intake off the turbocharger. And you may or may not be able to do this when you're looking at a vehicle, but if you can, it's nice. Some of the newer vehicles are really, really difficult to do this to. Like a 6.7 Powerstroke's really hard to get to. Most of the Cummins stuff's pretty easy. And the Duramax stuff can be also impossible to get to. But if you can look at this, you can kind of see what the health of the turbocharger is. Again, the blow-by is really going to be anything that damages your cylinders is going to pass through the turbocharger anyways. But you can see some of the dust that's been ingested. It's pretty typical of a truck of this age. But if you can grab the turbo shaft, some shaft movement is absolutely normal. That's called bearing clearance. If it does not have that, then the shaft wouldn't be spinning inside the bearing. But excessive amounts would result in infringement from the impeller itself to the housing. If there's cases of that where you see shiny spots where this is actually contacting it, then you need to know that you're going to be buying a turbo very soon. And the problem with that is if you don't buy a turbo really soon, not only are you going to lose the turbo, but you might also take out the engine as well, because all this metal gets pulled in to the turbocharger, into the intercooler, and gets re-ingested, reintroduced into the engine, into the intake, and it damages the cylinder walls. So you really don't want that to happen. That can be a very costly mistake. If you catch it soon enough, it's not a problem. But if you let it go on, it can result in some expensive damages. So that's something that you can watch if you're looking at a truck. If you're able to get to the turbocharger, check that out and see what the shaft play looks like. That'll tell you a lot. So keep those things in mind when you're checking out a truck. All right, guys, we showed you a little bit today, just a snippet. Stay tuned to this next portion of this clip. We're going to go a little deeper and show you a few more things on what to check and how to ensure that you're getting a good deal on a truck. So stay tuned, like and subscribe below. We appreciate it. If you like this content, then please comment on more things that you'd like to see and we'll try to address it. Thanks a bunch.